Us. Kia ora tātou, nau mai, haere mai. Welcome to the Civil Defence Emergency Management Group Joint Committee meeting. We are here today. We are hosted in Te Mānuka Tūtahi in the beautiful community of Whakatane. Our regards to Mayor Tanzosh and Deputy Mayor Droops who are hosting our request today. We are here Thursday the 16th of April 2026 and we are here at the stroke of 2 p.m. this morning. We have a short statement as we do for all of our civil meetings, please. A warm reminder, please, that members and staff that this meeting is being recorded and that the recording will be made available on the Bay of Plenty Regional Council website following the meeting. A warm reminder, please, also that all present that local government decision-making affords no protection to councillors, council officers and the public for comments made during meetings that are subsequently challenged and are culpable and determined to be slanderous. And our experience here at the table across our beautiful Toi Moana Rohe has not needed to be raised. So thank you all members. Also acknowledge, please, all of our participating members and our manuhiri. We do have some manuhiri this morning, some visitors. But if I can please invite Principal Advisor, Stace Tahiri, will say, if you would please open our hui with karakia timatanga with Spirit in your hands. Thank you.
Ngā koe, Worship, ngā mana engaro, ngā waiwatapu, nau mai haere mai, welcome all, me noi tātou. Whakatakatau ki tūru, whakatakatau ki te tonga. Kia mā kene ki uta, kia mā taratara ki tai. Ia ki ana te tākura, e teo, e luka, e hauhu, ti hei, maungi e wara. Kia ora.
Ngā mihi to our Principal Advisor, Tahiri. Thank you so kindly. We will accept apologies and we will go right off script. Because we live in this community, we live in this region, we know that as we sit here, it's in stark contrast to our weather events that have impacted a lot of our communities. So we'll go through agenda item 1 and I will just take the liberty of chairing and adding in an additional invitation for members to be able to make any statements or acknowledgements of the work that's most recently been undertaken, please. So for agenda item 1, I do have apologies and been advised that Mayor Denia of the Western Bay of Plenty will try his absolute best to join us via Zoom if he is able to. Are there any other further apologies for our meeting today? If there are none, can I invite a mover? I'm happy to move the apology potentially for lateness. I have a seconder in Councillor Campbell from our Regional Council. Just looking for the Deputy Chair. I'm happy to take that. All those in favour, please signal aye. Those against, there are none. The item is carried.
Just to check, you might, because Glenn is on Zoom.
Yes.
Is it okay if
I'm looking for process. Thank you. We do have an alternate member in the House, but actually we do have legitimate attendance from the member and Deputy Chair Dougal from the Regional Council. Just for clarity, thank you, Councillor Campbell. Deputy Chair Dougal, I can't actually see you. Yes, I can now. Yeah, happy to move that. Apologies, sir. That sounds great, yes. I can read your lips, Deputy Chair Dougal. Happy for you to move that as the attending member. Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Campbell. As was mentioned earlier, we do live in this rohe. We did have a number of local declarations that were made in the care and protection of our people here in our rohe, and I just simply invite participating members, please, if you'd like to make any comments or acknowledgements. Deputy Mayor,
I can start it off. So first off, I'd really like to thank everybody who was involved in civil defence across our whole Bay of Plenty, and in particular our EOC team here. I spent the majority of the Saturday and Sunday here in this building, and they were really professional and they did a really great job. And it was great to see there were good processes for them to be following as well that are set, and things do come out of this committee. So yeah, it's great. And thank you very much for the opportunity to congratulate everybody.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Dukes. We have, we're very blessed that we haven't been impacted in other ways with previous weather events. But for the good-looking people of all the communities of Toimwana. Any other invitations?
Yeah, well, just through the chair, it's exactly the same situation for us, and thank you for those that sort of are reaching out, and the whole civil defence team across the board. Too many people to name, you missed someone out. It was just an amazing, actually amazing response from the community, iwi volunteers, and also and a big sort of highlight the services that were out and amongst our fire service, so all volunteers, and now I believe they're up to 16 call outs on the day. They've all got families to go home to, and I spoke to several of them on the following morning, and most of them hadn't been to bed yet. So just thinking of those people that didn't, and of course thanks for the support from my fellow mayors and councillors that were checking on everyone, and yeah.
Thanks to you.
Thank you both. Welcome in, Deputy Chair of the Joint Committee, Mayor Denia. Lovely to see you. Are there any of our online participating members, please, that would like to make any comments or acknowledgements? Ms. Epsel, please. Kia ora.
Kia ora everyone, and thank you, Madam Chair, and apologies I'm joining by Zoom, but also just want to acknowledge how hard our staff worked in that time. I think we have some that are coming on 12 days straight of working from preparation and including being quite busy over the weekend, so we do really acknowledge that. We're fortunate that some of us weren't hit as hard as we expected. In Rotorua, the key concern was the flooding around Ngongotaha Stream, which we do have a plan in place, and no doubt we'll continue discussions with the Bay of Plenty Regional Council, but do really want to acknowledge what I thought was great communication between the mayors at the time as well. It was great to receive support from others, and just how often we checked in with one another. I do also want to mention that the Zoom call on the Saturday with Minister Mark Mitchell and also NEMA was very helpful as well. They were at the time, as we know, considering declaring a national emergency. And I also wanted to share the feedback regionally that what I shared is, although some of us very obviously needed to declare a civil defence emergency, for some of us, such as Rotorua, who were sitting there with a Chiefs versus Moana Pacifica game, thousands of people enjoying that, and just being a tourism destination in general, we were hesitant at the time to declare an emergency if it wasn't evidence that our local community would be hit as hard, understanding that the coastal areas were in a very different situation to us. So I appreciate all the conversation that went into the decisions that were made over the weekend, and I'm glad that we've come out okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor Tapsell. Mayor Drysdale, welcome in. I see hands up. We're in your hands. Thank you.
Yeah, kia ora everyone. Just wanted to share some of the sentiments that's been shared already today. Thanks to our staff, to the regional council and the GEC that was stood up. It was quite amazing to come in over the weekend and see everyone in action, and certainly felt like we were in great hands and prepared for the worst. And obviously we hoped for the best, and certainly got that. So very thankful that although we were prepared and were ready to respond, we weren't really required to do a lot, which is always the best outcome on any of these things. But it's pretty amazing to see those teams, and I think unfortunately they're getting better and better at doing it. And I say unfortunately is because you don't ever really want to have the EOC needed, but it's pretty good to see that they are ready, if the worst does happen to us. So thank you to everyone involved. I know a lot of our staff and that man the EOC are also doing their day jobs, and so they didn't have a day off, coming straight into the weekend and having to deal with that. So thank you.
Your worship, please no other members who would like to just acknowledge the work before we go into our statutory work of the agenda today. So please, for all of our teams that came together under local declarations across our Bay of Plenty, Toimoana, thank you all for looking after our people in terms of readiness and preparation. I think we will close that agenda item that wasn't there, but it's the right thing to do. We'll move on to agenda item 2, which is the public forum. We are joined online today, team, by Fire and Emergency New Zealand, our FENZ. We do have a local advisory committee, BOP, LAC. We are full of acronyms in this sector. With an intention to inform the Joint Committee of mandate, scope and function of the Bay of Plenty Local Advisory Committee. We are joined, I will just check please, by Chair Soifua Pearson. Yes. We do have Deputy Chair Terika Te Mara Bilda, members Jay Bocock, Mike Chapman, Sam Fellows, and if you recognise the other member, we do have our former director and Clinton all day. Can I just check please, do we have our FENZ District Commander Jeff Maunders joining us? No, he's very busy doing the work of FENZ. So we're in your hands, perhaps Chair Pearson, forgive me. We're in your hands, thank you. Nau mai, hara mai, welcome in.
Kia ora koutou. Thanks, Madam Chair. As you introduced me, Clinton, well known to most of you still. Good to see familiar faces. The Chair's asked me to sort of lead off the presentation part, and then shortly I'll call on my colleagues to just introduce themselves shortly. And we just thank you for the time to speak to you this afternoon, and introduce what is the Bay of Plenty Local Advisory Committee. We've got a short presentation. I won't go through slide by slide. I will highlight issues just to give you a flavour of who we are, and then there can be some follow-up later if so desired. So I believe Marinda is going to do her usual, guide me through it. I think the first thing we just want to recap and just remind everyone that Fire and Emergency New Zealand comes from a history of over 150 years, different fire organisations providing community protection to our communities, and mostly staffed by volunteers. The types of emergencies responded to have changed: climate change, new technology, populations, all are impacting unplanned frequencies. This is nothing new. Civil Defence, as your committee will know. And then in 2017, the government unified the New Zealand Urban Fire Service with rural fire services, pulling together Korean volunteer services into one Crown entity. That Crown entity is governed by a national board. Thanks, Marinda. So the role and mandate, I'm not going to go through in detail here, but the Act of 2017 gives us two main principles. The first one being addressing fire, and the second one protecting, preserving life and property. There are main functions in the Act, as can be expected, mainly around fire and hazards, with additional functions now also prescribed, which include medical emergencies, maritime incidents, natural weather events. That's where we come into play a lot with civil defence emergency management. Important to note is there's an agreement with St. John's that the fire service, FENZ, does a lot of first aid, what they call purple codes, particularly medical responses in support of St. John's. Thanks, Marinda. The FENZ are working to a strategy, 25 to 2030 strategy, which Melinda's jumped there. I'll backtrack. This is very brief. The 4 R's of emergency management, that is very much aligned to comprehensive emergency management, same as what Civil Defence does, but as you can see, a more holistic approach from FENZ to dealing with emergencies, while firefighting remains at the core of the organisation's responsibilities. Thanks, Marinda. And at the heart of that sits the strategic direction and implementation program of 25 to 2030, which we are currently engaged in. Our purpose, serving communities together, very much aligned to other services. I won't dwell on that, although the strategic priorities there are supporting our people, undertaking safe and effective resilience operations, being an effective regulator, building strong relationships, and having strong business foundations. So you can see that's where our primary focus is at the moment. And the National Board is obviously leading a lot of that work. Thanks, Marinda. So what are the local advisory committees? Firstly, the members of the committee are appointed by the National Board and from the community. So we are not FENZ employees. We are from the community. We are there to provide a strong community voice, advise on local needs, risks and opportunities, to influence fire and emergency strategy, strengthen community relationships, and represent diverse local membership. And I think the key thing to stress here is we operate as an advisory capacity to fire and emergency. So the diagram on the right shows how our committee will work through our chair to the National Board. So we work alongside the district commanders, Jeff Maunda being the Bay of Plenties. We work closely there. We do obviously provide any information or intelligence we get to them. If it's an operational one, they will take that up. But if it's strategic issues, and that gets reported up to the National Board. And our chair works with the other 15 chairs around the country in working to the board. And as below our committee, you can see our main focus at the moment is on engaging local community stakeholders, the FENZ volunteers, and industry brigades. Thank you, Marinda. So the boundaries of FENZ local advisory committees, there are 16 across New Zealand. And a very interesting point here is they are largely aligned with the Civil Defence Emergency Management Group boundaries. So the 16 local advisory committees and the Civil Defence Group boundaries are pretty much aligned across New Zealand. Thanks, Marinda. And for the Bay of Plenty, this is our current membership. As the chair introduced members shortly, but I'll just pause to give them all an opportunity to just greet and introduce themselves. And I'd like to start off by inviting our chair, Soy. Soy, would you like to say?
Tēnā rā tātou malola wale sūfua maua. Thank you, Clinton, for leading off with that presentation. Thank you also, Chair, for the time afforded to us this afternoon. Ko koe ingoa ko sūfua te wō. I'm based in Tauranga Moana, and as has already been said, I chair our Bay of Plenty LAC, and then in my day-to-day job, I work in public health for Te Whatuara National Public Health Service. Kia ora tātou.
Thank you, Soy. Terika, our Deputy Chair.
Kia ora tātou. Ko wai tēnei tanata e karanarana atu ki a koutou, ko te rika tēmara benwhau tōku ingoa. He uri tēnei no te pahipoto no nai mahi anō hoki, kei roto i a te teko mai tērā taho tōku tūpuna kuia. Engari he mokopuna tēnei mai tō tātou waka a mātātua tēnei au nai tūhoi, Ngāti Awa, Ngāti Manawa, Ngāti Wharea nei e mihi nei. Engari kaori au ware tērā atu taha o tōku whakapapa kei roto i a te arawa waka, ko Ngāti Wiki ao Ngāti Whakaue anō hoki e mihi nei. It's great to, you're quite a little thing on my screen here, but wanted to acknowledge all of our mayors, deputy mayors, elected members and staff in attendance at today's hui. Some of you may recognise me in addition to my role as Deputy Chair of the local committee. I'm also an elected member and councillor in the Rotorua Lakes District. It's been a really awesome kaupapa to be a part of for FENZ. One of the areas that I'm quite passionate about is how we amplify the voices of our small and rural communities across the local area of the Bay of Plenty. And so it's been awesome as a committee. We've travelled around the rohe and we've been having our committee meetings in beautiful metropolises such as Murupara, Te Puke, in various locations, and we hope to come to Kawerau next. So I have put the karanga out to my good friend, Deputy Mayor Kingi, no Kawerau. I think that's our next location for our hui. So we're really going to the big metropolis now. And so, yeah, just wanted to come on and mihi to all the amazing work that happens across the emergency management space, across Aotearoa, across Te Mana Nui a Toi. Nō reira ai, tēnei te mihi ki a koutou katoa.
Kia ora, Te Rika. Mike, I see you on.
Yep, kia ora. I come from Mount Maunganui, mostly retired, but I'm involved in groups like this, community groups through to agribusiness. And I see the LAC's role as that really outside the normal channels of communication, getting effective points across to the FENZ board, who ultimately control what's happens across New Zealand. And so it has a very valuable role to play, but it's one which we need to engage with the community to understand what the issues are. Like Te Riki, the community is really important, especially for smaller communities, and maintaining an effective FENZ presence in those communities.
Thanks, Mike. I'll just check if Jay wasn't sure if he could make it in.
He's not here, I don't think.
Okay, thanks. So Jay is and Sam Fellows are our other members. We do have 2 vacancies on our committee at the moment, and I'm sure at some point in the future those will be addressed. The key thing that our membership is appointed from across the rohi, so you can link in with someone locally to your local sort of council area for if you would like to make contact. If you'd like to speak to Soy, the easiest is just there's a standard email address to send through a request. And we do have a plan that we work to of engagement, in which we are rotating our meetings across the rohi, as Te Rika said. Carol's next. But we also try to do some engagement when we're in that thing. So, for example, one of the priorities we have is speaking to the local volunteers at the fire brigades, because they are the community. FENZ relies heavily on volunteers and community support to be able to do their mahi. So we would welcome any invitations or any further engagement you may wish to have. Te Rika, Mirindo, I think that's, yep. So we are on the website, all the other advisory committees are there. Just want to sort of summarize again is that we are not FENZ, so we don't deal with operational matters. If people do raise it with us, we note it, but we pass that on to the district commander and his staff to manage and to get back to people. We are looking to address issues that influence the planning and the strategy, and to be the sort of eyes and ears at the regional local level for the national board, and to feed back to the national board. So happy to say that's us, and thank you for the time to summarize. I'll end there unless there's some questions that anyone wants to have for the committee, for our committee.
Thank you, Member Nordane. We will open up to joint committee. We've got lots of committees all in the room, so let's get some clarity of who we're inviting. Joint committee members, please, if there's any points of clarification, I'll go in the room first. Let me check. Mayor Tapsell.
Tēnā koutou, and thank you very much to Chair Soifoia and your members. It's fantastic to have this connection, actually, so thank you for taking the time to present to us, and also want to acknowledge, as you have mentioned, Clinton, that a large amount of your resource, or you're heavily reliant on volunteers. And on that note, the question that I have is, given that our fire services are distributed quite evenly across our district, so for us in the Lakes, we have fantastic hubs in, stations in Okareka, Tarawera, even out towards Rotoma. And what we do know is that sometimes when these weather events hit, our communities can very easily become quite isolated. For us in Rotorua, in particular around those lakes areas, you think if a road is closed, or a slip or a tree is down, and vice versa across this region. So the question that I have for you is, in terms of being able to be first responders, which they often are, how do we keep up that strong connection between what may be at times smaller stations and groups of volunteers directly with our group if we're wanting to or if they're needing any resource in case of emergency, such as, I don't know, first aid equipment, food, water. I'm just quite interested to know that, because I can see it can be quite hierarchical as well.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. You're quite right. We recognise the importance and also how isolated those smaller stations can get, because that's not where the career firefighters are. The career firefighters are generally in the bigger urban centres. So we rely heavily on those volunteers. I think there's two parts to that question. One is in response, where we normally, you heard members thanking when the EOCs activate, ECC activates, you will always have FENS representatives coming in, and they will provide that linkage back to their brigades or their stations. And if there's a need, that will come up to the FENS first to see if they can refill it nationally or regionally or locally from other stations, or they'll bring it into your EOC and ask for support there. So that's normally the response connection. There is a readiness phase to that, and I would suggest that that is where your local emergency management staff would be working closely with your local FENS. And I suppose my recommendation is do what we're doing. We're getting out there and we're visiting the local volunteers. You know, they have training nights. Go along and see a training night. I'd encourage all of you as mayors or elected officials, you know, just where you stay, what's the local brigade? Go along one night and just go and see the passion and enthusiasm those people have. I'm just blown away by, you know, how many years and years and years of volunteering there is in some of those stations where it's not a once-off, it's family traditions. So it's really good to see. But I think we've got a strong relationship between civil defence and FENS. But I think, again, we can build that even stronger by just keeping in touch. Corridors, as I used to say back in the other job, you still, on this side of the fence, you still drink a lot of coffees. So get out there and have a coffee.
Thank you, Member Milday. Anything else from Joint Committee members, please? There's nothing, nothing further. I'll just check. Miranda, please help me. No, very good. It's quite fun having two different teams that you're cheering over. Te tupo, our kind regards to you and our local advisory committee team for making yourselves available. Our Deputy Mayor Kingi of Kowero had let us know that Deputy Chair, Council, son of the entire Bay of Plenty Rohe, would appear, had made contact for the upcoming, I think it's the 7th of May, that is going to be held next. So we thank you sincerely for sharing with us so that, look, collectively we continue to look after our people and our kaimahi, our kaitono, those who look after us on the ground together. I did hear very clearly that you're not FENS per se, but do work very closely with them. And if you could please, just from the nation, the city of Kowero, we do have an increased presence of service delivery in our community this afternoon for a situation that is developing, and our sincere regards to those who are directly involved in being able to respond to that very quickly. It gives us a confidence that some of our smaller corners of our Bay of Plenty Rohe are not forgotten, but that we have a confidence and a safety and security that where the help is needed, that people will respond and make themselves available. So I thank you, Claire. If there's nothing further, you're most welcome to join us for the remainder of our agenda, but I'm sure you're strategizing, as I heard earlier, but we thank you again for the time that you've made available, and we will most definitely continue to connect with our FENS teams in each of our hapori. There is a variation of composite and volunteers in our different stations, but when they're needed, it's most important that we are there, we are supporting them, advocating and lifting their voices in the care of our communities. Thank you, team. Kia ora. Kia ora koutou.
Kia ora.
We,
Thank you, Madam.
thank you. We will move on, team, at 2:32 p.m. Yes, I'm just getting nervous. I am watching. We're at agenda item 3, which is items not on the agenda. And we do have an agenda item that will be added to today. I will come to you, Mayor Tapsell. The agenda item is at section 9, the public excluded section, and the introduction of agenda item 9.3 for committee members, the appointment process of the MBOC regional manager. Mayor Tapsell, we're in your hands. Thank you if you'd like to move in that way, or any comments to the additional agenda item.
Sorry, was that comments from me? I didn't quite catch that.
Yes, if you'd like to
Oh,
move
yeah.
in that way for the addition of the agenda item, Mayor Tapsell.
Yes, please. I'm happy to move. And just to be clear, it's regarding the Constitution as well.
Constitution. Thank you. If we can add that, Miranda. Can I vote a seconder, please, for the agenda item? The seconder, Amir Moore. All those in favour, please signal aye. Aye. Those against?
I just need a reason why it has to be dealt with according to the standing orders.
Just what we have available. We have available in terms of verifying
that it's urgent to be dealt with before the next meeting.
It is most urgent that it's dealt with.
There's sufficient reason.
There is sufficient reason. Thank you. I have a mover in Mayor Tapsell and a seconder in Mayor Moore. We'll just confirm. All those in favour, please signal aye. Aye. Those against? I have none on the screen as well, none in the room. The item is carried, and we will add, please remind me, team, that is an additional item when we get there. I'm sure Mayor Tapsell will keep your eyes on things. Agenda item 4, the order of business. There are no changes for our agenda today. Agenda item 5, please. Invitations for any declaration of conflicts of interest. If there are any from joint committee members, there are none. We're not conflicted. We're very clear about our purpose and our role within civil defence here, team. Agenda item 6, any public excluded business to be transferred into the open. We'll check at this stage. There are none. Thank you, confirming that there are none. We are at agenda item 7, which is on page 9 of our agenda, which is minutes. 7.1, the Bay Plenty Civil Defence Emergency Management Group Joint Committee minutes from way back on the 12th of December 2026. What a difference 72 hours is made all the way back to December, team. Director Crowe, will you lead us into our minutes we've all received, and we will take the minutes as read.
So, caught me out slightly. Yeah, taking the minutes as read, and I'll just, sorry, I have to take a moment to find any outstanding actions, which I don't know. No outstanding actions. So,
thank you.
Thank you.
For those who were present, please, if we can invite a mover and a seconder to confirm the minutes from the 12th of December 2023. I appreciate it was some time ago. Happy to move. I have a mover and more. For those who were present, I appreciate lots has happened since December 2016. Actually, I have a seconder and Deputy Chair Medina. Thank you, Medina. All those in favour, please signal aye. Aye. Those against? The item is carried and is confirmed by the Crowe Regional Manager for changing some languaging and terminology. There are no outstanding items. We are moving on to page 20 of our agenda, please. We are at agenda item 8. Reports 8.1, the Bay of Plenty CDM Group statutory appointments. Director Crowe, we're in your hands.
Thank you, Madam Chair. You'll have the paper in front of you, which will take as read. It is relatively standard in nature. You will recall seeing these much at every meeting cycle we have, and they pertain to the appointment local controllers or recovery managers, and is the case in this instance, the rescindment, several of those as well. So we're looking at the rescindment for the Richard Horn and Suzanne Craig from Rotorua Lakes Council, both as local controllers, and the rescindment of Natalia Byrne from PCC as a local recovery manager. There is some attached correspondence from both Rotorua Lakes and Tauranga City supporting those rescindments, just to make sure that those are right off. And at the back, you have the schedules pertaining to controllers and recovery managers. Happy to take any questions.
Are there any questions or points of clarification? Very procedural, just so that we're clear about who has powers, authorities, responsibilities in terms of controller and recovery measures. If there are none, we do have 3 recommendations, of course: to receive the report, to approve the rescindment from, and thank you for your service, local controllers Richard Horn and Susan Craig, and to confirm perhaps the rescindment of Nalita Byrne for Tauranga City Council. We have a move.
I'm sorry.
Oh,
Forgive me.
Full participation. Sorry, John, very liberal. I do understand that. We like full participation. Miranda looks after us for process. It's all good. I have a mover.
Happy to move the agenda item, Chair.
I did have a mover in the room, and it's only because we're sitting here in the same space. I will take a seconder. Councillor Deputy Chair Dougal, if I may, and I have a mover in there, Tanzosh. All those in favour, please signal aye. Those against? There are none. The item is carried. Thank you. We are moving on to page 27 of our agenda. We're at agenda item 8.2, which is the draft FOP CDM, Bay of Plenty Civil Defence Emergency Management Group Annual Plan for 2026. We are joined at the table by Paul Greenshields, our manager. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Manager Greenshields, where are your hands?
Madam Chair, Your Worships and committee members, I'll take the paper as read. There are a number of recommendations here. One of them is that we look at to confirm the priorities are right within the draft annual plan, and if there are any other priorities that this committee feels important to raise, and have a discussion about.
Joint committee members, we're in your hands. Thank you. Deputy Chair Dougal, would you like to share? To see you speaking.
No, I have no comment.
Thank you, Deputy Chair Dougal. Anything further from joint committee members? It's such a fantastic. Medenia, thank you. Forgive me, Medenia, thank you. We're in your hands.
Yeah, thanks. I just wonder on the, do we want to change the priorities on anything? And just on page 40, full review of the Bay of Plenty CDM Group fuel plan. I just wonder, is that a priority A at this point? Because it seems to be a fairly live issue. Or is it a case of by the time you'd review it, it might all be over? But it seems a pertinent one to consider anyway.
Thank you, Medenia.
We can change that priority.
Didn't catch that, Medenia. That will be raised in light of the current topical situation. Thank you for raising it.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you. There's nothing further from joint committee members. Please, 3 recommendations.
Well, it's just, I understand that our operations people have had input into this.
Yes.
So it's just wanting to clarify if those feedback and priorities have been incorporated in here, then certainly I would have nothing to add to that.
They have your worship.
Our teams are very busy, Your Worship. Thank you. We do have recommendations if there's nothing further. On page 28, pleased to receive the report draft box annual plan 26 to 27. That has had huge input, lots of input from our civil defence local territorial authority teams. Thank you. Through quick discussion, we have a reprioritisation, of course, of the fuel of the draft plan, and recommendation 3, please, to support the finalisation of the draft annual plan 2026-27 brought together by our teams. I'll have a mover, please, for the 3 recommendations. I have a mover in Mayor Moore and a seconder in Mayor Tanzos. All those in favour, please signal aye. Aye. Those against? There are none. The item is carried. We're on page 46, please. Thank you, Paul and good secretaries. We're on page 46 of our agenda item 8.3, which is the Western Bay Plenty Recovery Framework, addendum to the Bay Plenty Sedum Group Recovery Framework 2025. We're joined at the table by Principal Advisor Julian Riwiti. Principal Advisor Riwiti, we're in your hands. Thank you.
Through the chair, I just acknowledge that Western Bay Plenty are online, so if there are any specific questions to these documents, they can answer that. But just a reminder that the Joint Committee have already approved the Bay of Plenty Sedum Group Recovery Framework, and that's a way for all councils working together in recovery through response and into recovery. This one is a procedural matter. It is not. We're not asking Joint Committee to approve the document. But we are saying that it should be attached to the Group Recovery Framework, and our responsibility to check that it aligns with the principle of that group framework, which does. It was first off the ranks. We had hoped that a number of other councils would be there already. Unfortunately, we've had 3 events since January. And we used this draft in those events, tested it for Tauranga City and Western Bay itself as a way of establishing its recovery in the initial phases. And it worked exceptionally well. So, and it's also a document that has been used for the drafting of the interim recovery plans for Tropical Depression 05F. So it has had a lot of testing. So we've provided that template across to all councils, but it's up to each council to decide for themselves how that looks. All we are interested in is that it does align with the overall group process. So thank you.
Thank you, Principal Advisor. Any questions or points of clarification? Or comments from Joint Committee members? Denia, we're in your hands. Thank you.
Well, as it's a Western Bay Recovery Framework, I feel I better say something. I'm pleased we first off the rank, and it's something that's very a live issue for us at the moment. Still recovering from the January event and the March event. Fortunately, the most recent event of Ainu hasn't been added to it, but we are definitely recovering from earlier in the year. And from what I've seen, it looks like a good framework, which I'd recommend to other councils, but obviously up to them. And I'm happy to move the recommendations when you're at that point, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Your Worship. If there's nothing further from Joint Committee members, we may be at that magical moment where you speak. So we do have 2 recommendations: being cleared to receive the report, and it's not the approval of the overall recovery framework that's already been done, it's to approve the addendum. Happy to move in that way, Your Worship. I do have a mover in Mayor Denia. Do we have a seconder? I have a seconder in Mayor Kanzosh, please. All those in favour, please signal aye. Aye. Those against, there are none. Our regards to the team that have pulled that together when the time is right for each of the TLAs to be able to complete their piece of the work. We will find there will be a formalisation of additional addendums as we go along. Thank you. Thank you, Principal Advisor Rewati. We will move on, please, to page 72 of our agenda. We're at agenda item 8.4, which is the Eastern Bay Plenty Response Model, Future Direction. Is that you, sir? Sorry, I do not see James. Thank you.
No, thank you. Thank you.
Regional Manager Crow, we're in your hands. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I'll take this paper as read, but I will take the luxury of talking to it just a little bit. It may create more questions than answers for you, so maybe I can start there. The purpose of the paper is to confirm the information paper for this forum. It's to confirm recent direction provided by the Coordinating Executive Group on emergency management response arrangements for the Eastern Bay of Plenty, so really the councils at this side of the region. What's happened, I suppose, to talk a little more casually, is we've done some work recently around how these events would model and shape and how we would resource them as the scale of events elevates. So the bigger they get, the heavier they are to draw on our community and on our own resources and councils. How would we deliver that? There's a discussion paper included with this as an addendum, which you may or may not have got to, but it just talks to the options analysis we went through, seeking that direction from the group. Where we've got to through those discussions is that KEG have invited us, / instructed us to do a little more work around those models. So there'll be a collaborative piece of work between the EBOM office and the councils from obviously Aporiki, Kaurau and Whakatane here to look at how we would manage events as they get beyond scale that are managed within BAU or even with surge staff. So I'm happy to obviously talk to any questions you might have around that, but it's really an awareness piece that is going on. I'm sure we've all felt the pinch in the last few weeks looking at the recent cyclone and going, well, if it had landed square on top of us and sat here for a day, what would we have done about it? So it's very timely that this paper is here to go, yes, we're doing some thinking, yes, we're doing some work. We'll come back to you once we've got some consensus at KEG to inform you of how that will look. Happy to take any questions from that point, I think, Madam Chair.
Your Regional Manager Crow. Your Bishop.
Kia ora koutou. Well, I understand that, and through you, Madam Chair, well, I understand that a lot of this is really focused on the eastern side. I'm not sure if it would be a question or just something to reflect on. But also would be very happy to help in any situation that arises where that could be helpful. But I'm also mindful that when events happen, they have the potential to obviously impact across the region as well. And so how do we also take that into consideration if the whole of the region was in a state of emergency, and also if that was to occur over a very long period of time? And to give that question, statement, feedback context, I'm also mindful that in places such as up south and also far north, when once you're getting on over a week of a state of emergency, when we do have limited resourcing capability, it can be quite tiresome on the staff available as well. And I have heard, especially from some mayors up south, that at times when there should be a crew on overnight, there just simply isn't the capacity because people are tired and they need to get home and they need to get to their families. And so have no problem with what's being proposed, totally agree with it. Roshiro is happy to help if needed. but how do we make sure that if there's longevity in the crisis emergency, that we have the capacity or we have a plan to then extend this even wider outside of our region to get additional resource? Just something to think on, or I'm happy to get a response now. Thank you.
Thank you. And if I may, I could offer you a couple of early options. If you refer to page 80 within the pack, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 options there that sort of introduce some of the external support and some of the alternative arrangements for how we could manage in a limited resource environment. Without walking all the way through those, that gives you some indication. We do have surge capacity within the region, and we can call out of region, and in fact we can go to national under a couple of different constructs, if you like. To extend that thinking a little bit further, if it was an event that we would call catastrophic, to use some quite harsh language, so really, really significant event that had a highly detrimental, an event that we currently haven't seen of scale or scope, we have a separate work stream, which is within the annual plan this year, on the catastrophic planning. So that details a lot of command and control resourcing and a whole lot of other elements that build the response construct. And that will be delivered to this committee in due course. But that work is very well advanced, nearing completion.
Thank you, Director Crowe. So there was page 80 of the agenda, team. There are some considerations. Oh, the languaging is quite frightening in this sector. Should we get to a catastrophic situation, there are some options. And really the work that's done by our teams in the readiness space perhaps is something that can be further bolstered and worked upon, because at the end of the day we are beholden to Mother Nature, and nobody, absolutely nobody, has any control over that but Mother Nature. I wonder about the female reference. Deputy Chair Dougal, please.
Thank you. I've got some. One moment. I'll just have my technical person put us on mute.
Sorry, Deputy Chair, you're on completely mute now. Nothing heard.
How does that? Can you hear me now, team?
We can hear you now. Go for it.
Are you can hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
We can hear you. Can you hear us?
Can you hear me now, Mark?
And the rest of us, we can hear you, Councillor Dougal.
Thank you. Now I can hear you. Thank you. Apologies about the technical mystery that we have. No, thank you for the report. My question was really specifically around option 5 on page 80 of that report around the what if scenario. And I was interested in, do you have any initial reaction from the CEs with regards that essential change in culture or permanent change in job descriptions that you may be suggesting for a selected number of employees of the councils with regards a dedicated role in their job description and dedicated training ability within their normal BAU job descriptions?
Thank you, Deputy Chair Dougal. This may seem strange, and I understand that you're both in the same room, but as the KEG Chair, that does have all of our chief executives of our territorial authorities, perhaps just some guidance, please, C. McTavish, around any of those discussions that have been held. I understand from Councillor Dougal that is specifically the interest with chief executives. And option 5 on page 80. We're all muted. Steve McTavish, if you can hear us, we see you very clearly. We can't hear you as yet.
Oh, thank you, Your Worship, and my apologies for the technical issues we're having in this room. Yes, there are councils in our region that have in all job descriptions requirements for staff to be involved in civil defence emergency management, so that is a work in progress. Clearly, and is something that I think CEOs are acutely aware with the recent adverse weather events that we've had in our region, there will be activities that have been paused or stopped across councils because the priority is to support our communities with emergency management. So I can report back to you in terms of which councils are making progress in that area, but that's certainly something that actually attracts people to our sector, that they have the ability to help communities and respond, but also is something that we're collectively working on.
You see McTavish, also a dual role in terms of being the coordinating executive group or the KEG chair. For that, not dismissing, of course, the work that was brought together by James Jefferson and our bill submission that again highlighted the duality roles, that we actually do have primary roles there. There are other discussions with other ministers, I appreciate, around the primary role primary roles and work that councils undertake, and there is no backup. When you are called into your civil defence emergency management role, that is the priority, absolutely. However, there is no magic fairy behind you continuing on with your council work, and that was raised the first time we made a submission. It was re-raised again. We certainly hope there would be consideration in the reform that is in review that is currently being undertaken. Thank you. I hope that answers your question. Councillor Dougal. We've got a thumbs up. Thank you. Anything further from joint committee members, please? A continuing piece of work. Thank you, Director Crow. We have a recommendation, please, to receive the report Eastern Bay of Plenty Response Model Future Direction, and I have every confidence that joint committee members will connect very closely with CEs and our emergency management officers, all of the teams within our TAs that are working in that space. I'm happy to move. We receive the report. Seconder. Thank you. The thumbs off. I'll take that as a second. Thank you, Sue. All those in favour, please signal aye. Those against? There are none. The item is carried. We're at page 82 of our agenda. Agenda item 8.5, which is the Bay of Plenty Sedum Group Tropical Depression 05F Recovery Update. Joined again, Principal Advisor Julian Aruati. We're in your hands. Thank you.
Firstly, I'd like to start by acknowledging we did tragically lose their lives during this event and the families impacted by that. And I'd also like to acknowledge those who have lost their homes, and those are not recoverable homes across Wellington and again, we have to acknowledge we have 4 entities in active recovery across our region. That is Tauranga Moana Iwi, Bay of Plenty Regional Council, Tauranga City Council, and Western Bay of Plenty Council, and this made quite significant complexity in Cyclone Hurricane Council. So there was a lot of work about trying to ensure safety, particularly of housing slips, as they were already in recovery. So this presentation is simply a regional look over across our active recovery entities. We did provide this to the Minister, and it was important to bring it to you. The weather event itself, this has been the common picture that's appeared in all our initial plans, and that really clearly showed the actual outcome that went across Tauranga City and Western Bay and particular, with some hits. And so we reference back. There was a lot of support provided across to our councils and ourselves. So there is a number of supports we provided to the Tauranga City and Western Bay. When it comes to recovery, we've also, in early response, brought a number of recovery managers in and sat them with those councils, and there was quite a streamlined approach to making sure that when we got out of response, we had similarity of processes for our transitioning, which relates back to the framework you approved earlier. So, and there's just a few details about the amount of support that was provided at the time. This picture actually showed at the time active recoveries. A Podaki has now dropped off and not an active recovery, except they still have a mayoral fund to expend. There were people from that, and we are helping them as of today apply for more mayoral fund for Cyclone Vaianu. And the reason is they did get impacted to a smaller amount. So not considered an active recovery, but definitely for seeking mayoral fund support. The ones on the left are Tauranga City, remain in active recovery, and Western Bay. What you don't see there is Tauranga Moana iwi and Regional Council. So this picture is reasonably important for us. It splits up the key findings of our region into the entities. Regional Council overall has, when you look across the region, a large of active areas for that event, quite a high level of risk with landslide risk. So, yeah, and the second part is the Papamoa Hills. That was severely damaged and has been partially open, but it gets closed if the weather is not right. So it's a significant impact there. Kaituna Drainage Scheme, which is a substantive protective scheme to farmers and communities. 3 tranches that were severely silted up during this event. There's a maritime exclusion zone. So those things have added up. There was a regional council report in the last council. You're welcome to look at the details of that, but we produced their interim recovery plan. It's only interim because you have to decide how much other things are going to cost over time. But we had to get onto it. I did hear that there were deferments to make that happen, to be able to get onto the priority to reduce risk for the next event. Tauranga City, obviously Mauao, a big hit. There was some stormwater issues there, some landslide risks. They have housing issues going on, and of course that business impact. And essentially that column is a real focus for their draft recovery plan. The next one was, Western Bay. Quite substantive impact. We're talking a roading program now out for a couple of years. It's a big hit, 30 million plus. And of course, that's going to be impacted the longer time goes on with diesel prices, the cost of tarmac, the implication to supply chains, farming, community. So the longer it takes, the harder it will get for communities. So very, very big implication for that council. The other one is they did have a number of homes demolished or severely, and they've broken it into what's called 1 and 2. Some of those will not be able to be rebuilt on half the land's gone. So there's quite significant impact. The other thing Western Bay have done is they did pathways to recovery for the community. So early on in the piece, they went out to do a whole lot of processes. So again, all these line up to their recovery plans. They're all in draft form. A Podaki, less less of a concern now, but there are big concerns with State Highway 35, State Highway 2, which is regular. They do have some ongoing geotech assessments to complete just for risk management purpose, and they do have some impacted communities for meal funding. For the first time, we incorporated in all our recovery planning, our recovery when we were sitting in response, and when we transferred into recovery proper, Tauranga Moana iwi were entirely in that, and we synchronised everything. They have one of the most detailed draft recovery iwi plan for Tauranga Moana iwi. That's the 3 iwi, and we've been able to coordinate across that. So with all of these plans are not the same, but they certainly have same critical processes as we've gone through. But we would like to say there's a lot of money involved in just those tranches up there, and there are some significant community issues that will develop longer recovery. Just to show where we're at, that you're very familiar with, Mawao, but also not everyone will be familiar that every time it rains, the Tauranga City are in an enviable position of having to waterlogged flows. And I understand they'll have other processes they are trying to improve that situation. But the implication on people and business for that, I understand the foot traffic is huge, big issue, obviously, for the community. So every time it rains, they have to deal with the issue of protection. In terms of the, this is the Tasman Holiday Park. What we did find is we used recovery powers in Opotiki to evacuate at the time areas. So we used recovery manager powers because we weren't in declaration, and there were geotech issues. So we had to act rapidly, and that has just some minor elements to be sorted through. So it does show you how these things are ongoing for our councils. Western Bay are plenty. If you get a chance to go to their recovery office, which they've set up at Western Bay, the pictures are telling, and they will give you a good indicator what's ahead of them for 2 years plus consideration and the money involved and that whole implication to community. So yeah, it's pretty dramatic out there. Papamoa Hills Heritage Park, of course, significant damage to that, and Regional Council have been able to open up a tranche, but again, being able to think long term, how do you do that? Work with iwi is a big thing because there's a lot of damage in that. So it's not only safety to the community using that, they've got a risk management process in place. When it rains, they'll close it for a certain level. There's a lot of architectural and other cultural significant items. So Western Bay are working Regional Council is working incredibly closely on how do you and actually how much it's going to cost to go to there. We do have an interim plan that went to council, so it is worth having a look at that process. Kaituna scheme, Regional Council, 3 tranches of that massive protection scheme, huge implication if it floods, heavily filtered. So that was a real priority, and I do say maybe nervousness when the weather came through in the process of making sure that's a priority, but that also impacts on communities. And if you go down the road, you might see it on the way to Tauranga, some of the silt that's been removed. Councils themselves, all their websites, you will find, and it changes quite regularly as to the issues, comprehensive websites on recovery, and you'll see the messaging in there, what's important at that time, and you'll see it from Regional Council right through all our councils. And the CDM site, we will just push the messages that people want us to push from councils in Tauranga. The drafts are there. I understand that most of them are close in terms of the recovery plan. So Tauranga Moana Iwi, Western Bay, very close. The Bay of Plenty one it's an interim plan, but it was approved at council. And Tauranga City, all those are very close. And we're quite close as a recovery across the region to make sure we've talked across and with each other. And that's been quite unique, especially with our Tauranga Moana Iwi recovery plan, which is quite sophisticated. And we've been able to cross-reference all of them together. But it's up to each council to determine the nature of their plans. And just what we try and do, recovery monies is not exactly forthcoming from anywhere. We did get Tauranga City, Western Bay, being able to have mayoral funds of 200k each, and Hauriki initial tranche of 100k, and seeking more because of Cyclone Vaianu. We're working closely with Tauranga Moana and the entities to feed into a collective approach which NEMA have established, probably the first time ever, that takes that and tries to go across all of government, all the agencies, so we don't have to individually do that. To see that the things that are outstanding, like silt, debris, broken infrastructure, anything we can that may fall, will be able to seek some support. That's not an easy process, and I think we've still got a couple of weeks ahead of us. We cross our fingers, but that's always going to be hard. And we think at the end of that process, we will seek other processes collectively to try and seek the support that recovery really needs for our region. Thank you, Chair, and I'll leave it at that.
Julian. Committee members, we're in your hands. Thank you. Check online if there's anything. Committee members, thank you for that update. As we have seen, Mother Nature doesn't follow the flow chart, and often, particularly across the country, but in our area, we don't have the luxury of finding the time to follow the script. As often you have one event following very closely behind. I'm sure that's also being shared wider. There are some regional transport committee, wakakotahi considerations that I saw briefly in that chart. We can but only make a plan at a point in time where they need to be changed and updated with current information as what's being shared. The opportunity, I'm sure, to do so. Thank you for that report. Me Tantosh, thank you.
My apologies, Chair, but I did have one small question. And first of all, thank you for a really comprehensive report. Very informative and helpful. My question was, one of the tables you had the different pieces of work going on in the different authorities, and I think it was under Tauranga, it said something like tsunami location change or something like that. And I wonder what that meant in the context of recovery.
I'm not the expert, but what happened was Maua was a key place for tsunami evacuation.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
So, of course, when you have that, you don't have an opportunity to say, well, that we've got to find an alternative, and Mark would have details around what actually transpired. But yeah, the simple thing, it had a roll-on effect.
Thank you. Yeah.
I think Julian's done a superb job at presenting the report. Nothing further to add.
Appreciated. Thank you for giving us a look across with regards to the recovery work, of course, and the knowledge that some active work was called in behind regards to the team. The visuals most certainly when the message is just stay home, as was the case in Cyclone Waianu, it does give us a lens over the whole Bay of Plenty region, particularly those pictures in the Western Bay of Plenty. And we do stay connected as the Mayor's Network, Deputy Mayor's Network, any network to be able to collectively look after our rohe. Thank you. If I can invite a mover, please, to receive the report, Bay of Plenty Sedum Group Tropical Depression 05F Recovery Rate. Mayor Tanzosh, I have a mover. Mayor Tanzosh, I'm happy. I have a mover, a seconder, and Mayor Denia. All those in favour, please signal aye. Those against? Is that against Councillor Dougal? Or was that just timing? We're an aye. Thank you. There are none against. The item is carried. We're on page 89 of our agenda, please. Agenda item 8.6. Agenda item is changed to the Bay of Plenty Sedum Group Training KPI Measurement Approach, and we're joined by Operations Manager again. Thank you for the opening. Stace Tahi. We're with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Worship. And through the chair, if I could just premise, I currently have the controller phone. I'm the controller. If it goes, I will.
You go.
In advance that happens. Your Worship, and through the chair, I'll take the paper largely as read. But what I would like to say is, in terms of background and what we're looking at here, is currently, and it's actually the next agenda item, we report our KPI training based on the numbers that we currently have within the local councils that can stock an EOC and respond. What we would like to do, and what this paper is proposing, is that we shift the focus of our measurement from numbers solely in an EOC and on a roster to a training focus that will give us a bit more of a comprehensive look into how our EOCs respond as opposed to how many numbers they have put in the EOC. I'm happy to take any questions on that.
So just that slight shift, just confirming from pure numbers EOC to actually the training focus. It's referenced on page 92.1, which is the updated KPI approach. Any comments? Support?
Seems sensible.
Seems sensible. Thank you, Mayor Tanzosh. Seems sensible to receive the report, and with receiving the report, receiving support for the updated KPI approach. I will just amend and midi that recommendation on the run. Let's move in that way. Mayor Tanzosh. Seems sensible. Thank you. I'm happy to second that recommendation because I think it's sensible too. All those in favour, please signal aye. Those against? There are none. The item is carried, and thank you for the continuous work to review. It is our intent. Says. Thank you for that presentation. We will continue on. Stay where you are. We're on page 92 of our agenda, 8.7. Bay of Plenty Sedum Group Training KPI reporting. Taking your hands.
Thank you, Worship. And again, through the chair, I'll take this report as read and happy to take any questions.
Any questions from joint committee members? Confirming full participation from all members, just the voting is to primary members. No comment, happy, very good. We're making sense at the back end of our agenda today, team. We do have a recommendation. Thank you, Tahiri, to receive the report, Bay of Plenty Sedum Group Training KPI reporting. Do I have a mover? Receive the report. I'm happy to move. Mayor Denia, thank you, Your Worship. I have a seconder, Mayor Denia. All those in favour, please signal aye.
Aye.
Those against? There are none. The item is carried.
Chair, apologies. I should have also noted, thank you, through you, that with regards to page 96, the trained appointed controllers, it's showing that our Aotearoa Council has 4 controllers requiring training. So I just wanted to confirm that they are just waiting for that training or they're booked in for it. So we anticipate that to improve.
Thank you, Manager Taere.
Through the chair, that is correct, Your Worship.
Everything is making sense this afternoon, Your Worship. Thank you. That's great, team. The item is carried. Thank you. We're on pages 106 to 107, which is agenda item 8.9. Our NEMA, or National Emergency Management Agency. 8.8. I'm getting excited because we're getting very close. Forgive me, we're on page 100. Agenda item 8.8, which is the Bay of Plenty Sedum Group Office Annual Plan Performance Monitoring Quarterly Quarter 2 report for 25-26. They are very long. I cannot believe we use this language when we are in times of urgency, but that's what we use. We are joined again at the table by Manager Paul Greenshields. Manager Greenshields, we're in your hands. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll take this paper as read and open for any questions.
Committee members, we're in your hands. Thank you. Just verifying we're on page 100 of our agenda, agenda 8.8, the annual plan performance.
Thank you, Chair. In the paper on page 101, it says that the annual plan activity 1 is expected to have a draft framework for the initial UE engagement framework completed by the end of March 26. Just wondering how that's looking.
Sure. So that's the initial draft is out for internal review from technical experts throughout the group. Final draft will be by the end of the financial year. Events push those front ends, unfortunately. But we're also mindful that the new EM legislation that will land later this year will need to be reflected in the framework. And so our next steps are to integrate that feedback from the technical review and also the action plan for that framework.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Tanzosh, and we'd just like to acknowledge that unfortunately or fortunately we have had some live events that have brought together a range of groups in a side by side, shoulder to shoulder partnership. And we look forward to that framework being reviewed. We have had some recent activation of testing the thinking around the framework that can be guided by actual live data from recent events. Thank you. Do we have anyone online? We do have a recommendation, please, that the Bay of Plenty Civil Defence Emergency Management Group Joint Committee receives the report today. Bay of Plenty Sedum Group Office Annual Plan Performance Monitoring Quarterly Q2 Report 25-26. And I invite a move. Thank you, Mayor Tapsell. I do have a mover and Mayor Tapsell. I'm happy to second. All those in favour, please signal aye. Aye. Those against, the item is carried. We're on pages 106 to 107. Fantastic. We're on pages 106 to 107. Agenda item 8.9, which is our NEMA update Bay of Plenty Sedum Joint Committee, April 2026. We are joined today. Thank you for joining us, Atiana, in person. Our Senior Regional Emergency Management some acknowledgements much earlier in the meeting from members of the support from NEMA. I wasn't it was alluded to, but actually also our regards to Minister Mitchell for actually coming into our Bay of Plenty area. Understand there was a significant celebration, personal celebration, that was brought to a shorter end in support of all the regions who had declared. So we are in your hands. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I appreciate to make this very efficient and crystal clear since the recent reports that so I will try to follow suit. NEMA's report is largely taken as read. It will add some context or add some further information just for the benefit of members. That date for the emergency management bill is still on track, so we should expect support on the bill at the 9th of June, and it is still anticipated to be through Parliament this year. I say that in context of the responses this year. There is a point about the government support for mayoral relief funds. It's really information for members about the process to apply for that, and acknowledging that a Pōtiki District Council will apply for more funding. There's unfortunately not a treasure chest. The funding is really tight. The Minister gave an update about providing a paper to Cabinet. I unfortunately don't have an update about where that is at. Acknowledge that it's still go through. And I wanted to talk all the comments made from Julian about the recovery and give a little bit more context about the National Recovery Office and the mahi that's happening there. It stood up from the January-February event. It has obviously still stood up from the recent events as well. There were 16 districts, including the districts here in the Rohe of Bay of Plenty, that were affected. For your information, a total recovery funding requested through that fund that Julian mentioned is to date approximately 500 million. And generally, government agencies are working hard to figure out where support for the much needed support will come from. Really just wanted to give you context about the level and severity of recovery efforts is needed in Bay of Plenty, but across the country as well. So it is incredibly important to NEMA to get that full view of what support is needed. And really appreciate the support that particular councils are giving to consolidate, give that consolidated view. That is where the funding requests are at today. And then finally, the report mentioned the National Fuel Plan. Really want to make it clear that MB, the Ministry of Business, Innovation and Employment, is the lead there. Really, NEMA's role is supporting the anticipated consequent management of the impacts for the fuel response. Unless there's any questions, that's all I have today. Anna?
Thank you, Metantosh.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for your report. I'm new in this role as mayor, so may misunderstand. I had kind of got the impression that mayoral relief funds were often ad hoc funds set up at the base of an event. And if I'm correct in that, this says that the government's contribution should be viewed as supporting rather than establishing or sustaining fund. So is that envisaged that these are kind of permanent fund that funds then get put into and drawn out of? How that would contribute to it?
Through the chair, the way I understand it is mayoral relief funds are able to be stood up by councils at any point for a range of things, I believe. And in particular context of an emergency response, the government will contribute what is called a disaster relief fund towards council's mayoral relief fund. So councils have the option to open up their mayoral relief fund and the government contribute to that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Metantosh. Click online. There's nothing further, team. Thank you. I'm happy to move that we received a verbal update. No, let's go back to jumping. Received the report from NEMA update. Bay of Plenty Sedum Joint Group Committee, and we thank you Lily, for being here with us for our meeting today here in Manuka Tūtahi Whakatau. I'm happy to move that we receive the report. Me more, if you're happy to second in that way. Thank you. All those in favour, please signal aye. Those against, there are none. The item is carried. We are on agenda item 8.10, which is our verbal update from Director of Emergency Management, Bay of Plenty. Director Crowe, we're in your hands. Thank you.
I have just a short update for you. A couple of themes, one being around tsunami and tsunami warning, and the other one being around events and reviews. I thought it's sort of pertinent to give you two updates because these things will be happening around you, and there's nothing worse than seeing this activity and wondering where it's come from. So first of all, on the events and reviews, there are a series at the moment. We will commence one in the very near future. It's a bit of a liberty. MBOT will commence one in the very near future, and that will focus on tropical cyclone or former tropical cyclone that we all experienced last week. I would envisage that that's most likely focused on an operational review of activities taken, decisions made, and so forth. The second one that you'll all be very familiar with and is moving into phase 2 is Whakaari, and there'll be an update later on the agenda as a public item. So we'll talk to that in detail at that stage. The third and final one, which is probably going to be a really active piece of work for what a time on it, 3 years I would imagine, will be the various reviews that pertain to Tropical Depression 05F, funny name, the event that happened in January. There are several reviews contained within that. And that's due to the scale, duration and impacts of the event, including the very saddened loss of life. It's attracted a lot of public, regulatory and scrutiny, and rightfully so. The multiple reviews are underway. The Seeding Group Office has completed an operational review of our activities with a fairly narrow focus around the actions taken and the activities from the Group Office, the GEC, the Group Coordination Centre. The reason for the narrow focus was there are several other reviews going on outside of that sphere that will pick up the other activity, and we didn't want necessarily duplication of effort or one set of findings to sort of impinge on the findings of considerably other larger reviews, which I'll touch on now. So the Group Office one has been completed to draft. It is due to us on the 20th of April. We will go through that, and then it will start to get socialised through the various levels of governance, making it back to yourselves as information, I should imagine, at the next meeting of this committee. Tauranga City Council have a related inquiry focused on the impacts, decisions and outcomes in relation to the Mile site. WorkSafe have an investigation within its statutory health and safety mandate, and there'll be coronial inquiries at both Mile and Welcome Bay where loss of life tragically occurred, and I see a lot of group activity feeding into all of those inquiries, as well as a central government inquiry looking at system performance, agency role. Any Seeding Group has already been named within the scope of the central government inquiry as a relevant agency. So as that one in the coronial events, I can expect that they'll be public excluded items of interest on your agenda in the future. I don't have a terms of reference really to share with you in any detail at the moment, but I'm aware that those meetings are commencing next Friday. So I don't think detail will be thrown away on how these are going to play out and tie together. They are separate and they overlap to some extent, and I anticipate that group will be responding to multiple inquiries rather than one across due to the nature of the questions and the agency undertaking the inquiry.
Committee member.
Yeah. I suppose as a personal reflection there, walking through the Whakaari one, I don't anticipate this being a minor piece of work. This is going to change quite deeply on the Group Office's capability. and will cause friction for our team members, as it will many of the member councils. So, yeah, those inquiries are inquisitorial of nature. They're not comfortable to walk through, take considerable resourcing. I probably don't need to tell you that, but I just feel it's a duty to. Moving on to my second theme is around tsunami mapping. So we've gone through the revision of the evacuation zones and maps, briefed on that several times by Kieran and our team. Those maps have now been finalised and the campaign will be rolled out starting on Monday the 20th. Coming. We've been working with the coastal TAs to develop region-wide campaign associated with the rollout. You'll see a lot of work and a lot of presence on things like radio ads, billboards, aliens, buses you see driving around with ads on there. You'll see ads on there, and social media plus a range of other vectors. I will pause there because while we've been really busy, that's unfortunate, working through our group work program and our response and recovery activities, Sammy, take a bow please, Sammy, has continued to keep this program on track, particularly around the public comms. So thank you, Sammy, that's considerable effort, well done. So you'll see those appear, you may even find yourself following one down the road, but that will be the result of Sammy's efforts. The last piece from me is on what an item we've called the GNS playbook, so the tsunami playbook. It was a piece of work we outsourced. It's really around the group office being able to buy some time back when we have considerable earthquakes, tsunami hazards that are generated offshore. And we found typically that the warning time that group is left to work with to notify communities hasn't been quite where we needed it to be. So we've put a piece of work out as an operational tool to GNS/Earth Science New Zealand to develop a playbook for us. That has now come back. It's a draft, provided feedback, and it's come back finalised. We're now testing it, and Stace's team is integrating that into our standard operating procedures and duty processes at the moment. Should this committee want to be briefed on that, we can loop back at a later date and provide a presentation on how that comes together, if that's something you'd like to see. With that concludes my report. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Director Crowe, and I think it will be a given that the joint committee would appreciate the update.
Demonstration. We'll take those.
Thank you. Committee members, anything further? Yes, Hansosh.
Thank you. I'm interested in this playbook. So is that intended as an internal guide to action?
Correct. So I can take the liberty to give you some context. If there's an earthquake, we'll get several means of notification to tell us there's been an earthquake, and there's an assessment being done that on to threat. At times, yes, no for threat has taken excess of an hour and a half. When we're talking about a hazard that can present at our shoreline an hour and a half or maybe up to 3 or more hours, we felt we needed that time to be able to inform communities of hazard. So we were trying to get some of that time back. So this tool developed by Science using the same technology that they do to create the national warnings, gives us an in-office tool to make an assessment within 10 minutes. We can have yes, this is something we really need to be focused on, immediate action, something that falls into a grey area, or something that we to calm communities with. So we'll still leave an area that we wouldn't act without formal notification, but it clearly delineates extreme risk and no risk.
Yeah.
And we can work.
Yeah, great. Yeah, that sounds right.
Joint committee members, anything further? We look forward to that update, that playbook, any of the work that develops from that national thinking, that would be appreciated. There's nothing further. Happy to move, please, that we received a verbal update from Director Crowe, our emergency management Bay of Plenty 4 April 2026. Do I have a second? Can I invite a second? Thank you, Mayor Tapsell. All those in favour, please signal aye. Those against? There are none. The item is carried. We are at agenda item 9, which is the public excluded section. The committee will now close the public section of our meeting and move into public excluded discussion. Specific grounds under section 48(1) of the Local Government Official Information and Meetings Act of 1987 for the passing of this resolution. It's quite long. 48(1)(a) Roman numeral 1 section 7(2)(g) withholding the information is necessary to maintain legal professional privilege. Can I invite a mover, please, at 3:43 to move into the public excluded? I have Mayor Moore and Mayor Tapsell, seconded by Mayor Tapsell, forgive me, at 3:43. All those in favour, please signal aye. Those against, the item is carried. Thank you, team. We moved into agenda item 9, which is the public excluded section at 3:43 p.m. And I'm inviting a mover, please, for the readmission of the public. Agenda item 11 at 4:27 p.m. You're happy to move in that way, Mayor Tanzosh, seconded by Mayor Moore. All those in favour, please signal aye. Those against, the item is carried. Administrator Miranda, we have had a number of departures throughout our meeting, and I'm sure you'll capture that. Agenda item 12, there are no consideration of items not on the agenda. Agenda item 13, any general matters? Director Crow, any direct general matters? There are none.
No, there's none that I'm aware of.
Very good, thank you. Forgive me, team. We are at 4:28 p.m. this afternoon, and we do have a moving on of one of our key members of our Emergency Management Bay of Plenty team, please. So as many of you will know, Mark Froh is shortly leaving Emergency Management Bay of Plenty to take up a new role as the National Operations Manager at NEMA. Tomorrow, the 17th of April, will indeed be your last day. Just to share with everyone, Mark joined MBOP in February 2021 as the Operations Manager and was appointed Director in August 2024. Over that time, he's made an enormous contribution to Emergency Management Bay of Plenty. His strong work ethic, I'm sorry, we wait till you're leaving to say these wonderful things, calm operational leadership and genuine passion for the sector have been evident in everything you've done. From leading during activations to strengthening regional capability and supporting councils, partners and communities. On behalf of our Joint Committee members and the entire team of the Emergency Bay of Plenty, our territorial authorities, our controllers, our recovery managers, we wish to sincerely thank you for your commitment, professionalism and your energy that you've brought to the role. You leave MBOP in a strong position and you take with you our respect and very best wishes as you step into your significant national leadership role. Lily Folds, we row them in the regions and then they're taken by the NEMA. Mark, we wish you every success at NEMA and thank you for everything you've contributed to our beautiful Ruhiao tournament.
Thank you.
Yes,
thank you very much. Awkward. Thank you, and thank you for the very kind words. Appreciate it. Much appreciated. It's really a hard time for me and one of deep reflection. This position in this group I have thoroughly enjoyed. It carries great responsibility, but it also carries great privilege. And both working with this collective committee, but the privilege of leading the MBOP team. It's a phenomenal group of people. We get through some great mahi and provide leadership to the sector across the region. I thank you for the unity of effort that's come on here, for your thought. and for your support. I'm very aware that when my name pops up on your phone, it's not the one you always want to answer. So I do thank you for taking those calls and working through those challenging environments with me. It enables our team to deliver on the work we do. I will leave the Bay of Plenty, or I won't actually leave the Bay of Plenty. I tend to commute. I will leave this role with a heavy heart, but also very, very proud of what I've achieved and with the support of the team, what I've achieved. So I'll always look back with fond memories to this position. So enough from me. I don't do these things well. Thank you once again, and I wish you all the very best for the future and success to Bay of Plenty Seeding Group.
Thank you. Please, join some members, please. We'll open that up if anyone would like to have any acknowledgements. Thank you.
Well, to be fair, it's difficult for me. I'm only new into this role, so I haven't had a great deal to do with Mark. But just to say that clearly you've been really effective in your role. Extremely good work here. It's clear, and so just to acknowledge all that you've carried, and also to say congratulations for stepping up. And work that you've done here clearly is the foundation and the proof of your capacity for national role. So,
Thank you for all the hard work you've done. Please don't take it the wrong way. I hope I don't get to meet you soon in new roles. But yeah, just thank you and good luck for that. So it's nice. We're not completely losing you, really.
You have a short dial now, me and more. So
change the roles. So thank you very much.
Madam.
So thank you.
Madam Chair, just from Rotorua as well, we had specific requests to make sure that we pass on the thanks from here to Mark. I know that they think of you incredibly highly and have really enjoyed your support over your time serving in this role. So we wish you all the best from Rotorua. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship. There is nothing further.
On behalf of TCC, Mark, all the best. Good luck down there in Wellington, and we'll miss you.
Thanks, Marty. Much appreciated.
Well, I say a few words, Madam Chair, just on behalf of Western Bay of Plenty. Mark, appreciate all you've done for the region and all your assistance in times of need. It's been great working with you on the committee, and wish you all the best at NEMA. So thank you.
Thanks, Megan. You're much appreciated.
Thank you, members. Thank you, Director Crowe. It's not so much haerera, as has been said, but neke maybe, moving around within the sector. You have left a fantastic, more than capable team with tools in place that are being refined on the run. We start to learn things, activating, recovering, reversing into activation and response. We do thank you for your work. And as you say, we will continue to see you around. It might actually be the other way. That will be contacting you for some assistance. We shall see how we do. So much, and all the best in your new role. Everyone will be relieved to see that at 4:34 we have come to the conclusion of our hui today. And as we do with all of our meetings, please, we will whakakapita tātou hui. We'll close our hui with closing karakia, and again invite Operations Manager Stacey Tahiru, please, to close our hui with karakia. Thank you.
Kia whakakape ake ngā mahi nui kia koutou katoa, kia u, kia tātou I roto I tātou mahi, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou katoa, mino I tātou. Whakaaria te tapu, kia wātia ai te ao. Kia tūruki whakataha ai, kia tūruki whakataha ai, haumi e, hui e, tātai e.
Thank you, Mayor Tūnui, chairing our meeting.